Alfred Hitchcock watched the screen test for 30 seconds. Then he turned to his assistant and said 5 words that would change cinema forever. "That's her. That's my star." Grace Kelly was 24 years old. Unknown. Untested in Hollywood's biggest roles. But Hitchcock saw something in those 30 seconds that no one else had seen. Not a pretty face. Not another blonde. He saw perfection itself. It was 1953. Hollywood was full of beautiful women. Marilyn Monroe was America's sweetheart. Elizabeth Taylor was stunning. Ava Gardner was sultry and dangerous. But Hitchcock didn't want any of them. He wanted the ice. He wanted the cool, untouchable elegance that hid fire underneath. He wanted Grace Kelly. The problem was simple. Nobody else did. MGM executives looked at her screen tests and shrugged. "She's cold," they said. "The camera doesn't love her." They saw a Philadelphia debutante trying to act. They saw a girl who would never be a star. Hitchcock saw a snow-covered volcano. "Give her to me," he told the studio. "One film. If I'm wrong, you'll never hear from me again." They thought he was crazy. They gave him the girl nobody wanted. What they didn't know was that Alfred Hitchcock was about to create the most perfect woman in cinema history. To understand what happened next, you need to go back to the moment Grace Kelly walked into that Warner Brothers soundstage for her screen test. She had no idea her entire future would be decided in 30 seconds. The screen test, January 1953. The room was cold. Grace stood under the lights in a simple dress. Hair pulled back. No elaborate makeup. Just her face, her eyes, her presence. "Action!" someone called. She turned, looked into the camera, spoke her lines. 20 seconds passed. In the screening room, Alfred Hitchcock leaned forward. His eyes narrowed. He watched the way she moved. The way light caught her cheekbones. The way her eyes held secrets. 10 more seconds. "Stop the test," Hitchcock said. The assistant looked confused. "Sir, she's barely—" "I've seen enough." Hitchcock stood. "Get me that girl." "But Mr. Hitchcock, she's done almost nothing. A few television dramas. One supporting role in—" "I don't care what she's done." Hitchcock's voice was final. "I care what she will do. With me." The assistant hesitated. "The studio won't like this. They want a name, a star." Hitchcock smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. "Then we'll make her one." Dial M for Murder, March 1953. Grace arrived on the Dial M for Murder set nervous. This was her first Hitchcock film. Her first major role. Everything could go wrong. Hitchcock watched her from his director's chair. She moved across the set with that elegant walk. Poised. Controlled. Perfect. "Miss Kelly?" he called. She turned. "Yes, Mr. Hitchcock." "You're trying too hard." Grace's face fell. "I'm sorry, Don't apologize." Hitchcock stood, walked toward her. "You're a lady, Grace. Ladies don't try. They simply are." She didn't understand. "Watch," Hitchcock said. He directed her through the scene, told her where to stand, how to move, when to turn. Now, again. But this time remember, you're not acting, you're being. Grace took a breath, walked through the scene. Something changed. The entire crew felt it. The way she moved, the way she existed in the frame. She wasn't trying to be elegant anymore. She was elegant. "Cut," Hitchcock said quietly. "Perfect." Grace smiled. She was beginning to understand what he saw in her. But Hitchcock wasn't finished creating his masterpiece yet. Rear Window, September 1954. "I want you in white," Hitchcock told Grace. They were planning the most important scene in Rear Window. The moment Lisa Fremont enters Jeff's apartment in that white chiffon nightgown. The moment that would make Grace Kelly immortal. "White?" Grace asked. "Isn't that rather bold?" Hitchcock smiled. "My dear, you'll be the most beautiful thing anyone has ever seen on screen. The zoo audience will fall in love with you in that moment, just as James Stewart's character does." James Stewart himself was there. He'd worked with every major actress in Hollywood. Katharine Hepburn, Barbara Stanwyck, Jean Arthur. All legends. "Hitch," Stewart said quietly, "you really think she's that good?" Hitchcock didn't answer immediately. He watched Grace rehearsing with the costume designer. The way she held herself, the natural grace. "She's not good, Jimmy," Hitchcock said. "She's perfect, and perfection is rare." The day came to film the scene. Grace stepped onto the set in the white nightgown. The lights came up. The camera rolled. She moved through the apartment. Ethereal. Glowing. Untouchable yet somehow achingly human. The entire crew went silent. This wasn't acting anymore. This was magic. "Cut," Hitchcock whispered. He almost never whispered. Grace turned. "Was that all right?" Hitchcock stood, walked to her. For a moment he just looked at her. "My dear," he said, "you are now a movie star." Grace Kelly didn't know what to say. She felt something had changed. In those few minutes under the lights, in that white nightgown, she had transformed. From actress to icon. But what neither she nor Hitchcock knew was that their partnership had an expiration date, and it was approaching faster than either of them imagined. To Catch a Thief, May 1955. They filmed in Monaco. The Mediterranean glittered blue-green in the sunlight. The palace rose white and elegant above the harbour. Grace didn't know it yet, but she was filming in her future prison. "This location is perfection," Hitchcock told her. They stood on a terrace overlooking the sea. "And so are you," Grace laughed. "Hitch, you say that to all your blondes." "No." Hitchcock's face was serious. "I say it to you, because it's true." She thought he was being dramatic. Directors always were. But Hitchcock meant every word. He had worked with many actresses. He would work with many more, but Grace Kelly was different. She was the ideal he'd been chasing his entire career. Cool beauty hiding passionate fire. Elegance concealing danger. Perfection that seemed effortless. "Grace," Hitchcock said suddenly, "never leave this business. You're too good." Grace looked out at Monaco, the palace in the distance. "I won't," she promised. "Acting is who I am." Hitchcock nodded, but something in his expression suggested he didn't quite believe her. He was right not to. The Cannes Film Festival, May 1955. 1 month after filming wrapped on To Catch a Thief, Grace was at the Cannes Film Festival. A photo opportunity at the Monaco Palace. A prince, a handshake, a future. Hitchcock heard about the meeting. He didn't think much of it. Grace was a professional. She wouldn't throw away her career for some European aristocrat. But then the engagement was announced. December 1955, Prince Rainier III and Grace Kelly. A fairy tale. Hitchcock's phone rang. It was Grace. "Hitch, I wanted you to hear it. From me." Silence on his end. "I'm getting married, in April, in Monaco." More silence. "Hitch, please say something." "You're retiring." It wasn't a question. Grace's voice wavered. "Rainier says a princess can't also be an actress. It wouldn't be proper." "Proper?" Hitchcock's voice was cold. "Grace, you are the finest actress I've ever worked with. Do you understand that? The finest." "I know, but we were supposed to make 10 films together, 20. I had roles written for you. Projects designed around your talent. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" Hitchcock laughed bitterly. "You're 26 years old, at the peak of your powers, and you're walking away." "I love him, Hitch. Do you?" The question hung in the air. "Or do you love the fairy tale? Because fairy tales, my dear, are rarely what they seem." Grace was crying now. "Please don't make this harder." Hitchcock softened. "Barely. I won't. I can't stop you. But Grace, when you realize what you've given up, when that palace becomes a cage, remember, I tried to warn you." He hung up. Grace stared at the phone. Part of her knew he was right. Part of her wanted to call Rainier and cancel everything, but she'd made her choice. In April 1956, she became Princess Grace of Monaco. Alfred Hitchcock never forgave her, not really. The years after, 1956, 1982, Hitchcock tried to replace her. He cast other blonde actresses. Kim Novak in Vertigo, Eva Marie Saint in North by Northwest, Tippi Hedren in The Birds and Marnie. Some were good, some were very good. None were Grace. In 1962, Hitchcock was preparing Marnie. He'd written the role for Grace 6 years earlier. Now he had a chance. She'd been a princess for 6 years. Maybe she was ready to come back. He called Monaco. "Grace, I have a film for you." Her voice on the phone was different. Older. Sadder. "Hitch, I can't. You haven't heard the role yet. It doesn't matter. Rainier won't allow it." "Allow?" Hitchcock's anger rose. "You're not his prisoner or—" "Grace." Silence. Long silence. "Aren't I?" she finally said. Hitchcock understood then. The fairy tale was exactly what he'd predicted. A cage. She was trapped. The most beautiful bird in the world, wings clipped, singing for a palace that didn't appreciate her song. "If you ever change your mind," Hitchcock began. "I won't be able to," Grace interrupted. "But thank you. For everything. For seeing me when no one else did. For making me immortal. You did that yourself, my dear. I just pointed the camera." They never worked together again, but Hitchcock never stopped loving her. Not as a man loves a woman. He loved her as an artist loves his greatest creation, his Mona Lisa, his David, his perfect work. In 1979, Hitchcock was dying. He was 80 years old, fading. He made one final call to Monaco. "Grace." "Hitch." She was 50 now, still beautiful, still elegant, still trapped. "I'm making one last film. I want you." "Hitch, please, one more time. Give me one more film. With you." Grace was crying. "I can't. You know I can't." "Then what was it all for?" Hitchcock's voice broke. "I made you a star. You walked away. You've been miserable for 23 years. And for what? A title? A palace? I made my choice. You made the wrong choice." Hitchcock was crying too now. Two old artists, mourning what could have been. "But I still love you, Grace. You're still my perfect blonde. And you're still my Hitch." He hung up. They both knew it was goodbye. Alfred Hitchcock died in April 1980. Grace Kelly died in September 1982, September 14th, 1982, the day Grace died. The news reached Hollywood. Princess Grace of Monaco dead at 52. Car accident, stroke at the wheel. Film historians gathered to discuss her legacy. 3 films with Hitchcock, 11 films total, 6 years in Hollywood. "She could have been the greatest," one said. "She was the greatest," another corrected. "For those 6 years she was perfect." Someone found old footage. The rear, window screen tests. Grace in that white nightgown, young, luminous, immortal. They watched in silence. "Hitchcock was right," someone whispered. "She was a snow-covered volcano." In the footage, Grace Kelly smiled. 25 years old forever. Perfect forever. Immortal forever. Hitchcock had seen it in 30 seconds. What took the world years to understand? Grace Kelly wasn't just beautiful. She was cinema itself. Elegance and danger. Ice and fire. Everything that makes a movie star eternal. He'd made her immortal. But immortality came with a price. She'd given him 6 years. Then walked away for a crown, and spent 26 years wondering if she'd made the right choice. The final truth. Years after both were gone, a film student asked, why was Grace Kelly so special to Hitchcock? An old cinematographer who'd worked on Rear Window answered, because she was the only one who was exactly what she appeared to be. Cool, elegant, perfect, but underneath there was fire, real fire. Not acting, not pretending. Grace Kelly was a lady who dreamed of being free, and Hitchcock let her be free. For 3 films, for 6 years. The camera loved her because she loved the camera. She came alive in front of it. And then she chose a different kind of immortality. A title, a palace, A cage. Hitchcock never forgave her, not because she left him, but because she left herself. The student looked at a still from Rear Window. Grace Kelly in white. Glowing. Perfect. Do you think she regretted it? The old cinematographer smiled sadly. I think she regretted it every single day. But she was too proud to admit it, too graceful to complain. She was, after all, Grace Kelly, the woman Alfred Hitchcock made immortal in 30 seconds, and the woman who spent the rest of her life wishing she could go back to that moment and choose differently. That was Grace Kelly, the most beautiful woman Alfred Hitchcock ever filmed, the most perfect star he ever created, the snow-covered volcano that burned itself out in a palace far from Hollywood's lights. He saw her in 30 seconds. He made her immortal in 3 films, and he mourned her for the rest of his life, not because she died, but because she stopped being Grace Kelly, movie star, the moment she became Her Serene Highness, Princess of Monaco. Hitchcock knew the truth. The princess was just a role. The movie star was who she really was, and he was the only one who truly saw her.